And so I'm going to tell you guys about how I made my first $1 million. Alright, so today's video is going to be a little bit different than the content you guys are used to. I met recently with a journalist and was interviewed by them about my journey as an entrepreneur. And a lot of the questions, I realized, were geared towards finances, the money I've made, the money I'm making. Finances are always something that I have held close. I don't really talk about it. But in speaking with this journalist, I realized that really that's the wow factor. That's what inspires people to pursue their entrepreneurial journey, realizing that I can do something I'm passionate about and actually make money doing it. And so I'm going to tell you guys about how I made my first $1 million. Now, that being said, I would have not been able to make that first $1 million without the support of my family, my friends, my partner, all of the people who tuned into my videos, who cared to watch me run around picking things up and turning them over. All of that has led me to where I am today. So I need to acknowledge that first and foremost. To get to my first million, it started with my YouTube channel, Crazy Lamp Lady. Prior to that, I had a YouTube channel called Relic Recovers, where I would go out metal detecting, and I was sponsored by a global manufacturer. I was able to travel the world metal detecting, which is an amazing opportunity. It was so much fun being able to see all these different places, but it didn't pay the bills. Didn't even come close. And so when I started posting content that revolved around my reselling, buying and selling things for a profit, I saw a shift in my numbers. I saw higher view counts. I saw more subscribers pouring in. That eventually rolled into the Crazy Lamp Lady channel, where I started thrifting content, where I would go to Goodwills and antique malls, and I would seek out items that were undervalued, items that I could buy and then flip for a profit. That channel really took off quickly. In the first few months, I had about 30,000 subscribers. The views were just continuing to rise, and it was crazy. It was wild to see, having grown a previous channel to 80,000 subscribers, and the work that went into that, to suddenly shift gears and within a few months have 30,000. I realized very quickly that this was my path. This is the path I was supposed to follow. So with being on YouTube, obviously, comes monetization, and I get asked a lot how much I make. I think it's just natural when you tell people, oh, I do YouTube for a living. They're like, does that really pay? And it can. There's a lot of factors that go into how much you make on YouTube. I think a lot of people think that it's based on subscribers. If you have 1 million subscribers, you make a ton of money. If you have 2 million subscribers, you're making bank, right? But it has absolutely nothing to do with subscribers as far as the YouTube revenue. Now, brand deals, they like to see you have a lot of subscribers, but when it comes to making money on YouTube, it has everything to do with the number of views you have, how long people watch, whether people click on your videos. There's so much more that goes into the equation of how much do you make on YouTube. So I could get 20,000 views and another channel could get 20,000 views, but we're not going to make the same money. You know, I could have advertisers that have bid higher on my videos because my viewer retention is longer, you know, whereas they have 20,000 views and everyone clicked off within the first minute. So they're not going to make as much money as me because people have hung around and they've watched the video. So as my views continued to increase with Crazy Lamp Lady, obviously, so did my income. One of my favorite numbers to share, and I usually do so privately, is that in 2017, I made $14,531 over the course of the entire year. By April 2019, I made that money in 1 month. It was insane. I remember having to pull over on the side of the road at a gas station, and I just sat in my car, and I just let it all soak in, because what an amazing opportunity to be able to do something I was passionate about and make a living doing that. It was an incredible, surreal moment there beside the gas pump. And then it just kept growing. The more views, my revenue just continued to grow. So by the end of 2021, I had made a total of $888,000 on YouTube from the time I started to the end of 2021. Now, by the end of 2022, that number was $1.5 million. So it took about 4 years to get there. It was a heck of a journey. It was a lot of work. It's not as easy as, oh, I'm just going to put out a YouTube video. I had to go out and film on a regular basis. I had to edit the content. I had to put the content out. And it's not physical labor, obviously. There's a lot harder jobs than what I was doing, but it was a lot of work. It did not come easy. That puts YouTube into a bit of perspective as far as income. But at the same time, as I was going out filming these videos, buying things to flip for a profit, I was accumulating things, and I had to sell them. Otherwise, I would be buried in things, obviously. So we started on Etsy. That's where I started. And then kind of from there rolled into eBay. And the best format I found for selling my items was multi-day auctions. We obviously had to hire employees to help, because listing that many items is not easy. And I admire anyone who takes that on and doesn't have a team behind them. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, not only listing the items, photographing the items, but then also shipping the items. It's a full-time job for sure. And there's a lot of people out there who do reselling as their full-time job. I was just fortunate enough to have a channel and then also have the outlet of eBay. So I can give you guys some numbers on eBay as well. In 2021, I brought in $493,000 on eBay. That doesn't account for the cost of the items I was selling. But by 2022, we were at $333,000. So by 2023, in addition to having made $1.5 million on YouTube, we hit $1 million in sales on eBay. So that's just 2 layers of what I do, the business I run. Obviously, the videos are advertisement for the items I sell, which kind of brings everything full circle, because without the videos, I don't think I would have done as well on the items. And so the videos have always kind of worked as advertising. But when your advertising makes you money and you don't have to spend money on it, that's kind of a great scenario. So now you have a picture of YouTube, you have a picture of eBay, and there's another layer there, and that is Facebook. Facebook at the time was not easy to get monetized. You had to have a certain number of followers, you had to have a certain number of view hours for a month. So it's not like they accumulated and you reached the view count. Every month it started over, and you had to get a certain number of views in that month to qualify for monetization. And I worked so hard putting out content, trying to get monetized, and I could not hit those view counts every month until I put out a video and it went viral. And almost instantly I qualified for monetization. It just took one video. And I'm not sure the year of that, but I think it was right around the same time frame, probably 2022, 2021. Finally, I had achieved Facebook monetization. So Facebook is very similar to YouTube. It has a lot of the same factors in that, it has to do with views, not followers. It has to do with viewer retention and all of that. At one point on Facebook, I was bringing in $20,000 to $30,000 every month. So that was like the height of my Facebook monetization. Shortly after that, I signed up with a company who took it over, and they take a cut, but I don't have to do any of the work, which has been really nice. So the videos that you see out on Facebook, the shortened content, that's not me putting that content out. So I took a hit in order to reduce my workload. So I'm still making money over there. It's not the 20 to 30,000 it used to be, but it's kind of passive, which I can appreciate. So here you have the layers of YouTube, eBay, and Facebook. And in 2023, I started Knickknacks. Now, Knickknacks is my e-commerce marketplace. It is powered by district.net. So they handle all the technology, all the infrastructure. And on the surface, what you get is Knickknacks. It has live selling, buy it now, multi-day auctions. And we launched in October 2023 and crashed the district website. And I always rub that in when I talk to them. I remember when we crashed the site. Granted, they've come a long way. We've come a long way together in growing Knickknacks. And today we have over 5,000 sellers, about 50,000 members, and live sales happening all day, every day, with over 117,000 listings. It was February 2024 when Knickknacks really started gaining momentum. Prior to that, it was just kind of chugging along, and then something happened. That was the time I gave up selling on Whatnot to pursue my own marketplace, to show that I'm in this. Let's do it. And that's when things shifted. And suddenly the numbers just started climbing very fast. And today, 2 years later, after launching Knickknacks, Knickknacks has almost done $8 million in sales in 2 years, which I feel like is quite the accomplishment. And it's been an amazing thing to witness and watch grow, because it's really the people that make it, and it's the positive vibes. It's being family friendly. It's supporting one another. One of my favorite quotes is, "A rising tide lifts all the boats." And I feel that way about Knickknacks. I feel like when one person succeeds, it gives us all the ability to follow suit and also succeed. So that is Knickknacks. My other revenue stream would be my properties. The money that I've made, I've invested in real estate. So I have my Airbnb house that I featured on my YouTube channel. Not only is the property accumulating value, but I'm also able to rent it out and make an income from that. And I have my other home that I have rented out. And then, of course, I have my house. So the money that I'm making, I'm investing either back into the business or into real estate. But I think that's so very important, because a lot of people luck into making this kind of money, whether, they post a video on YouTube and suddenly it explodes. But one thing I realized over the years, and this became very obvious in 2020, is that nothing is forever. What I'm making now on YouTube, I could lose it all tomorrow. And so it's so important to diversify. And that's why you hear me saying I have, this, I'm working on this and I'm working on that and I'm working on this, because having one stream of income is a very scary thing. In 2020, everything shut down. YouTube revenue dropped. And the reason for that is because it's based on advertising. And as all of these companies started taking a hit, they cut their advertising budget. And so we saw a drop in YouTube revenue. And that was the moment for me that I realized, wow, I should probably diversify. And I did. So now I have all of these plates spinning. In 2026, we are having the first ever Carlisle Antique Fest in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. It's going to be an amazing antique show with collectibles and fashion and handmade. And I think it's going to be an amazing event. So that's what I have coming up in 2026, another plate to spin. But I love what I do. When you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is check your emails, and before you go to bed, you check your emails, and you work all day, every day, it's so fulfilling to know that the work that you have put in is being returned to you. You have to be resourceful. You have to be able to pivot when the time comes. If something doesn't work out, you need to know to go in a different direction. You have to accept failures and bounce back. I started with a side hustle, scraping by, trying to pay my bills, and now, these years later, I am running an 8-figure business. So this is the part of the video where I tell you all that I am actually going to be offering a course for $500. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not offering a course. I don't think that what I've done, what I've accomplished, what I've gone through to get where I am at today, I don't think that can be taught. I think that everyone has their own journey to figure out. I'm going to end the video here. But I thank you all for hanging out and sticking with me. And hopefully I see you over on knickknacks.net, where we can all grow together as a rising tide. Have a great day.